Joining me now is Director of Verve Communications and Sky News contributor Prue MacSween. Prue, let's start with the Australian energy market operator warning that Victoria is running out of gas faster than initially forecast, with an extreme risk of outages within the next 4 years. Yet still, we've got the Allen government down here pushing ahead with their mad renewables targets. Prue, we are sitting in this state on decades of gas reserves. Some say hundreds of years of gas reserves, but that's not doing us much good when there is no gas exploration and no new gas projects.
Rita, isn't it astounding the brazenness of these Labor governments that have just, they're so obsessed with this climate change, this anti-fossil fuel, a mantra that they've got. And the fact that AEMO, which has always been a little bit, to me, too far to the left when it comes to climate change warnings, etc., is even saying, guys, in 4 years, you're going to run out. There's a shortfall. So what is the Allen government doing about it? Absolutely nothing. They think that by banning gas in, new homes is going to offset the shortfall. This is going to be a winter of discontent, we would hope, because people will suddenly realise in Victoria and in other parts of Australia that if we rely so much on fossil fuels to keep our heaters on, our aircon going, our lights on, and frankly, the governments, because they have no plan B, they've just fallen over themselves to demonise fossil fuels, and sadly, we're going to be left shivering in the dark.
Well, sadly, down here, the Victorian Liberals are part of the problem. They've signed up to these mad emission cuts. They could actually be formulating a policy to get Victoria out of debt, to give us cheap, reliable gas by saying we're going to do gas exploration. This is going to be our path out of paying off this massive debt instead of taxing the long-suffering citizens down here. But no, they're too terrified to actually deviate from what the Allen government's doing. Staying in Victoria, the Auditor-General's Office has found that the cost of cancelling the 2026 Commonwealth Games has been more than $589 million, including $150 million for employees and operating costs and $380 million settlement to the Commonwealth Games bodies. The report said that the cost estimates for the Games and the government publicly released in August 2023 of $6.9 billion was overstated and not transparent. It added significant amounts for industrial relations and cost escalation risk, but it did not disclose that the budget already included $1 billion in contingency allowances to cover these and other cost risks. So they blew up the costs when they were trying to justify why this event had to be cancelled. But nevertheless, the headline here is that we're paying almost $600 million for a Games that we're not going to see, Prue.
Well, it was all to get him re-elected and to take the heat off him, wasn't it? He was hoping that the regional centres would be buying the scam, and, he'd promised that they were going to be some of the venues for the Games. And, of course, it was all just a big con job. Andrews was conning everybody, and sadly they fell for it. And now we have this situation where we've got IBAC. Why isn't IBAC? Because one of their charters is to be able to look into the scams of the public sector. Are they not investigating what has gone on here? Because Victoria is a basket case, and you just look at what he's done to that state, the debt you're in, and the fact that Allen is continuing on this same route of conning people, overspending, lying, obfuscation, leading you down the wrong path, as we all know. And Victorians are just, as you say, well, of course, there is no alternative government from what we can see with what's going on with the Liberals. But Victoria is a basket case, and, it's just terrifying that politicians can get away with doing this kind of thing and there are no repercussions other than in the ballot box.
Now, the Summer Games aren't far away. The Olympics are being held in Paris in July and August this year, and temperatures there at that time of year can reach around 30 degrees. But because of climate concerns, Prue, the Olympic Village will not have air conditioning because installing air conditioning units would hurt the Games' carbon footprint. I wonder if the athletes were consulted about this. I mean, a lot of athletes are pretty woke these days. Maybe they're happy with this.
Well, this is a thing. This is a generation of the woke who've been sort of groomed since babyhood that the world's going to end, and so maybe they will buy it. But how you can expect your principal performers to operate, run a marathon when they are sweltering in their rooms, sapping energy, etc. I mean, they've got this geothermal energy idea where they somehow cool underneath the village. But, their testing was showing that even if it was 41 degrees outside, it's only going to be 28 degrees in the villages. Well, I don't know about you, but if I was lying awake at night in 28 degrees contemplating running a marathon, I wouldn't be happy. And yet they're quite happy to spend all this money buying, 300,000 condoms. I would have thought the sportsmen and women won't have energy to do anything on that front if they're not going to have any air conditioning.
Well, they always supply a lot of condoms for the village every Olympic Games. That seems to be a fairly consistent cost. But I do wonder if all the officials, the AOC officials, will be in air-conditioned five-star hotel rooms. I think they will be. So it'll just be the athletes who'll be sweating it out. Now, let's go to the US House Committee on Oversight and Accountability. They heard explosive witness statements exposing Joe Biden's involvement in his family's corrupt influence peddling schemes. Have a listen to this.
Mr. Bobolinsky, who's the big guy? Joe Biden. Are you sure about that? Because when
Joe Biden.
You're sure?
I'm 1,000% sure.
Because when Hunter Biden did his deposition under oath, he said, I don't know who it is, even though he was copied on an email that said H will hold 10% for the big guy. You sure it's the big guy is Joe Biden?
1,000%, and there's other text messages that back that up, that the brave whistleblowers, Shapley and Ziegler, have produced, not from my phones, not from my BlackBerry that I took screenshots from. They took them from subpoenas directly from Apple's iCloud that back up the fact that Hunter knew the big guy was Joe Biden.
The big guy is the brand. The big guy is the lift. The big guy is the one who showed up at golf outings, who took phone calls and meetings and lunches and dinners with Hunter Biden and his business associates. Is that right?
Correct.
That was Hunter Biden's former business associate. Prue, it's increasingly becoming clear that the Biden family's dodgy business dealings were really not the work of Hunter Biden. Sure, he was involved, but, that drug-addled whore enthusiast probably couldn't mastermind much. It was Joe Biden himself. He was the product being sold. His power, his influence was the product for sale.
He's the enabler, but of course it's like he's a protected species, Mr. Teflon. We read or hear that 9 members of the family directly benefited. Millions of dollars were paid by China and other countries. So you would hope that the voters of the US would wake up to themselves and not be prepared to compromise their morals and principles to get their big guy in. If they hate Trump so much because of who he is, I mean, this guy is a masterclass. I mean, he's making Trump look pretty lame, I think.
Now, let's talk about this ongoing Princess Kate saga. I thought it was going to be done and dusted once we saw footage of her shopping with Will, looking happy and healthy, but no, there's still all sorts of doubts and conspiracy theories, including on the mainstream media. It's not just social media putting this about. I heard on Melbourne FM radio this morning all sorts of conjecture from the hosts. One of them saying it's not Kate, it's a body double, it's obviously not her. To me, it looks like her, but there is a former journalist who's used artificial intelligence to unblur the paparazzi shots of Kate, the short video of her. Now, obviously, AI is not an exact science, but when this tool is used, yes, I can understand why people think it's not her but I think that's the AI. I don't believe, when you look at the actual video, Prue, to me, it looks like her. She looks pretty thin, but it looks to be like Kate, looking happy and healthy, shopping. What's your take on this? Because, I don't know, call me naive, but I seem to be on the outer, thinking that this video puts all the doubts to rest.
I agree with you, you know, and Prince William was there and, you know, you could tell it was him. Look, this is what really, I find it really distressing that now the mainstream media is hopping onto this bandwagon. They're wanting to milk this story as much as they can. It's like they're leeches. When you look at what happened with Princess Di and how Harry and William reacted in terms of how she was virtually hunted to death, it's almost like they're doing this to Kate now. And this story really is dead now, as far as I'm concerned, but they just want to keep it alive for their own benefits. It will be good when she actually does start going out into the community and they can see that she is alive and well. She's been through hell. I just feel it's very sad that she's been hunted down like this again. God knows what her mental health's like, but you can understand the cynicism of the royal family and aggravation when you see this kind of theory that's going on. And, you know, it's just really damaging on all fronts.
It is damaging, but I think the royals have got some accountability here, because no matter how unfair the interest is and how intense that interest is, that may not be healthy, just a 5-10 second Zoom video from Kate on camera saying, I'm fine, needs a little bit extra time to recover, that would put everything to rest, but they just will not do it, which is just feeding this craziness. Prue MacSween, thank you for your time this evening.
Pleasure.